Welcome to Tax 990. In this video, I'm going to show you how to file Form 990 through our system. So from your dashboard, you're going to click Start Now next to Form 990. You can either select interview-based or form-based filing. With interview-based, you'll be answering questions and the form will be filled out for you. With form-based filing, you'll be completing a process very similar to paper filing. We recommend form-based filing. In this first section, you'll need to fill out information about your organization. So enter your tax year, either calendar year or editing it to change to whatever your tax year is. Check any of these changes that apply to you, or leave them blank if none of them do. Edit any organization information here, and then move down to tax exempt status, 501c3, 501c, etc. Enter your website if you have it, and then answer these questions about whether or not this is a group return for subordinates and if there's a group exemption number. Enter it here. Then check your form of organization, corporation, trust, association, or other. If you select other, fill that out. Then list your year of formation, state of legal domicile. And then in part 1, you're going to need to enter activities and governance information. So briefly describe the organization's mission or most significant activities, and then fill out lines 2 through 7b. Then on lines 8 through 12, you're going to enter the revenue. So prior year first, then total expenses in lines 13 through 19. And then at the bottom in part 2, enter the signature information. So first and last name, and title, and social security number. And when you're finished with this page, go to page 2 over here. In part 3, briefly describe the organization's mission. In lines 2, 3, and 4, answer the questions. Then in line 4 through 4D, enter the 3 largest program services as measured by expenses, including expenses, any grants, and any revenue, and information about that accomplishment. When you're finished, go to page 3. And then in part 5, you will answer questions that will enable schedules down here. So be sure to read through every question and answer it appropriately. For instance, if the organization is required to complete Schedule B, click yes. Then Schedule B will be enabled down here. If you click no, it'll be grayed out and you can't fill it out. So go through all these questions, reading them carefully, then move on to page 4. Continuing this checklist, answering all these questions. In part 5, you're going to add statements regarding IRS filings and other tax compliance information from Form 1096 or W2G if applicable, otherwise enter 0, answering the questions, and move on to page 5 when you're done. Page 5, you're going to continue answering those questions about tax filings and other compliance, carefully reading it over and answering all the questions. Move on to page 6. Part 6 is about governance. Part 6 is about governance, management, and disclosure. Enter the number of voting members of your governing body here, those who are independent, answering all the questions. In section B, enter information about your policies, answering all these questions, filling out any relevant additional information you need. And then section C, disclosure, add the states that need a copy of this 990. Indicate how you're going to make your form available for public inspection. So you can say your own website. Then you will need to add the person who possesses the organization's books. So their name, phone number, and address. Then move on to page 7. You'll need to add the compensation of officers, directors, and more. Filling out their name, title, average hours per week, and their position. Their reportable compensation for the year, both from the organization and from related organizations, and the estimated amount of other compensation. When you're finished with that, scroll down and answer these questions at the bottom of the page, and move on to page 8, which is independent contractors. If you had no independent contractors, leave this blank. Enter the total number of individuals who receive more than $100,000 of compensation, and move on to page 9. Then you'll need to add the statement of revenue. So contributions, grants, gifts, and other amounts here. This will be brought down to this box. Then program service revenue, if any. Investment income. Other revenue. Gross income from fundraising events. Gross income from gaming activities. Gross sales of inventory. and miscellaneous revenue down here. When you're finished, move on to page 10 and enter the statement of functional expenses. Fill all this information out, whatever applies to you, and then move on to page 11. This is the balance sheet. So you'll have your beginning and end of year values. So we're going to say beginning of the year and end of year. As you enter all this information about assets, liabilities, and net assets or fund balances. For more information about how to fill out your balance sheet, you can click this link here, where we explain more information about it. If you need to reconcile net assets, you'll do that on page 12, part 11, until everything matches up here. And then part 12 is financial statements and reporting, so your accounting method and answers to all these questions. Now that you've completed the form, you'll move on to schedules. So here I need to complete Schedule A. So your reason for public charity status, I'm going to say a church. But it can also be a school, hospital, etc. Move on to page 8 in this case, add or edit any supplemental information that we need. And then I also need to do Schedule O. You can add or edit any information down here. And under attachments, I can upload PDFs for anything that's required. When I'm finished with this form entirely, I will click Proceed to Audit and Transmit. You can view a summary of the form here, and then click Continue to Audit. And the system will check over your return for common errors. If any errors are found, as in here, I can click on them and click Fix Error, and I will be taken to that section where the explanation is here, and it will appear highlighted where I need to answer the question. And then I can click on the next error and be taken to that section. Then click Proceed to Audit and Transmit again to move on once those are all fixed. Once no errors are found, you'll click Next. Here you can add other members of your organization for review and approval. So just enter their name, add their email address, and click Share Return. They will be sent this return via email through a secure portal where they can check everything over and add any comments. Check the video linked in the description for more information about how that works. Click Next. Now you need to sign 8453 TE. You can either e-sign on your own, send an e-sign request to someone else, or manually upload an image of that 8453. We're going to click e-sign on our own. Click here to e-sign. You can either have the name show up as plain text in one of these styles, draw your signature, or upload an image of your signature. Then whatever you choose, agree that that will be the electronic representation of your signature and click Adopt and Sign. Then click Upload e-sign form, and you've completed that 8453 TE. Click Next. And if you wish, you can add text and fax alerts, so you get updates from the IRS via text and fax when the IRS processes the return. If you don't choose either of these options, you'll still get email notifications and status updates in your account. Click Next, then click Complete Your Order. And since our reviewer never had a chance to approve the return, we'll get a pop-up warning us that they didn't check it over. You can either click No, I don't want to transmit and wait, or click Yes, I do want to transmit. Select or add a new credit card, confirm that you have the authority to use that card, and click Pay and Transmit. And that's it. You've successfully transmitted your Form 990 to the IRS. Stay tuned for status updates on the status of your form. Thank you for making Tax 990, the #1 e-file provider for nonprofits. If you have more questions, you can reach out to our support team at 704-839-2321 or by email at support@tax990.com.